Hit it.
Good evening and welcome to Story Hour. I'm tonight's host, Laura Blackwell. My co-host, Daniel Marcus, started Story Hour more than a year ago to help everybody stay together while we're all apart. And it's just been a nice little virtual campfire for us to gather around and tell each other stories. So here we are, still sheltering in our stories together, even when we can go outside a little more often. Welcome back to those returning, and welcome to those joining us for the first time. As always, we have two writers reading for their favorite nonprofits. Tonight's readers are Bill Ferris and April Grant. If you are fortunate enough to help others, please consider a donation to one or both of tonight's featured nonprofits, the ACLU and the Greater Boston Food Bank. Bill Ferris is reading for the American Civil Liberties Union. The ACLU dares to create a more perfect union, one beyond person, party, or side. Their mission is to realize the promise of the United States Constitution for all and expand the reach of its guarantees. You can learn more at aclu.org. April Grant is reading for the Greater Boston Food Bank. The Greater Boston Food Bank works passionately to end hunger across eastern Massachusetts by providing neighbors in need the healthy food and resources they need to thrive. You can learn more at gbfb.org, and I'll drop the link in the Zoom chat later. If you are here on Zoom, feel free to leave your camera on. It can be really nice to see a live audience. And chime in on the text chat if you like. If you're joining us on Facebook, thank you very much, but please understand that we may not be seeing your messages in real time. So behave. Our first reader tonight is April Grant. April Grant has published poems in Strange Horizons, Mythic Delirium, The Literary Hatchet, Kaleidotrope, and Mirror Dance, and short fiction in Fireside Magazine. She lives in the Boston area and also sings and tells stories. For upcoming shows and related entertainment, please go to aprilcatherinegrant.com. April, welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be on.
We're delighted to have you.
How are my sound levels? Should they go up, down?
You sound good to me. I just want to hear a story.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, so I shall read a story that I call Down Cellar. We never used the back staircase if we could help it, because the handrail was flimsy and the tiles were coming unglued. At the foot of the stairs was a landing where the cat's litter box lurked near the door to the cellar. On hot nights you could smell cat urine wafting up the stairs. The kitchen doorway had no door to shut on the smell, merely empty hinges. There had been a light on the stairs, but the wiring was broken. My housemate Juniper and I took turns emailing the landlord asking her to fix it, but she never sent a repairman, and Juniper's cat Lionel had to pee in the dark. Lionel liked to lie at the top of the stairs, watching me cook late dinners. My day job at the birdseed store ran late enough that I had no chance to come home and eat before my evening job as a tour guide in Harvard Square. The only way to avoid spending a ton of money buying food out was to cook in bulk late at night and bring a Tupperware with me every day. From the kitchen, I could keep an eye on Lionel's posture. If he was calm, eyeing me loftily, I would relax. If he ran down the stairs, I was on edge as I worked, looking over my shoulder. Tearing noises only meant he was taking a dump, since he liked to claw the plastic around his litter box. The silences were the bad part. There were 4 of us plus the cat. Juniper was Lionel's adoring cat mom and my friend from long before I came to live in that apartment. Owen and Marshall weren't entirely bad as men go. Owen had grown up in the apartment and his mother had held the lease before us. Marshall kept a stream of high-maintenance women flowing through his bedroom. Some of them screamed at the tops of their lungs during orgasm. It was annoying, but as my therapist said, ignoring them made good practice for shrugging off minor difficulties. There are things you can't tell your therapist for fear you'll sound childish. Some evenings, the 5 of us sat in our living room, paying our utilities and fretting about the electric bill, and Juniper would coo over Lionel as he bit her on the wrist, and I'd think, We're not all here. Who's going to come in next? I made the mistake of sharing that feeling with Owen one night. Only rarely did I confide in him, since I was alienated by his habit of walking into the kitchen, leaving one dirty dish in the sink, and walking out. On the evening in question, though, he had baked banana bread, and I ate a lot of it and arrived at a buttery peace of mind. It's silly, I said, but I get the heebie-jeebies when I'm alone in this room. Owen nodded and drank his milk. That's fair. When you lived here as a teenager, did you ever look down those stairs and feel scared? Sure, more than once. I looked at the stairs and voiced my fear for the first time. Deep down, I'm convinced something terrible is going to come up those stairs after dark and get me. I laughed. Oh yeah, said Owen. That's how my mother lost her feet. I waited for him to laugh, but he remained calm. I had met his mother, a solemn and kindly older woman. She was always knitting at the Quaker meeting she and Owen and I all attended, and she kept yarn bags on her motorized wheelchair. She wore colorful skirts that came down to her shoes. I had never thought to wonder if the shoes contained feet. Ha ha, I said to Owen. How did she really lose her feet? No, I'm serious, she did. There was still no sign of his finding our discussion funny. My head was sure he was messing with me in an unprecedented act of cruelty. My heart lurched. It came up those stairs, Owen went on, and hit her in the ankles. Must have moved along like a centipede. She would never say what it looked like, so I stopped asking after a while. You know how it is. He wrapped the remaining banana bread in tinfoil. I did not know how it was. I imagine it's a painful subject for her, I ventured. Owen nodded as if this were a reasonable conversation. That was when she made up her mind to move to the assisted living community. Oh, she'd been dragging her heels about it? I grinned at him, desperate for a sign that he was not in earnest. This apartment is impossible to make wheelchair accessible, being on 2 stories, and she had friends already at Granbury Cooperative Living, so it was an easy choice for her. She's got nothing but good things to say about it. He did return my smile. Have I answered your original question? I wandered off topic. No, I said. How do you know there aren't more of those things down cellar? Down cellar? He spoke with distaste. Where the furnace is, I shouted. And my camping gear, and where Marshall keeps his rowing machine. You know, the room below ground level, what we were just talking about. Oh, you mean the basement, Owen said. I was going to say, if you use the word cellar, I picture like a wet pit full of roots. A basement is a finished room, I said. But my words were sullen. I saw I could not win. Owen picked up his mug, ready to beat a retreat upstairs, so I returned to the attack. Okay, goddammit. Did you ever have, like, an exterminator go down the basement before you moved in yourself? Oh, it's very likely another one would show up in the same house, said Owen. Another one of what? I said. At the same time, he said, I'm sorry, I do have to turn into a pumpkin now. 4:30 wake-up call at the espresso mines. Good night. He ambled upstairs, humming the Wells Fargo wagon from The Music Man. Owen was the last person I would have imagined setting out to scare me, but that was what he had done. I thought, this can't go on, and started training myself to be callous to night terrors. First, I ignored the skittish behavior of Lionel. If he came into my lap and purred, I petted him, but if he raced up and down the stairs, I deliberately turned my back and focused on cooking, eating, or studying. It made me sick, and yet I was determined to harden my nerves. If Lionel bristled, I petted his fur down. My hands shook. It's hard to be angry and scared at the same time. My housemates were doing me a favor when they left the stovetop covered in bacon grease. Cleaning it and hating their guts distracted me from the sense of dread. After all, things down cellar were theoretical, but Marshall kept poaching eggs and leaving pans of eggy water to rot on the stove, and I felt less helpless when I ordered him to clean up his mess. My hours at work were extended because my boss introduced a themed pub crawl, where I would take tourists around the 4 most expensive pubs dressed as Mary Shelley. "Oh, congratulations," said my therapist, Erica, later. "It's a promotion, right?" "Unclear," I said. The tips were decent because of booze, but wearing a Regency-era cleavage dress around jovial, red-faced baby boomers was depressing. It was not what I'd wanted to do with my history degree. I didn't want Erica to think I was giving up easily, but I was fantasizing about quitting to go be a janitor. At least toilets don't look at your breasts while calling you kiddo. Longer hours led to 2 a.m. bedtimes and 7 a.m. mornings for me, and every few midnights I had to stay up late to cook and pack my meals for the next day. At that time, Marshall was boning an obnoxious red-haired woman who was so sensitive to smells that her skin broke out at the scent of other people's food. Cooking took forethought. No use of the stove vent because the whirring would carry to Marshall's bedroom and wake them both up. I had to open the window over the sink and fan the smells out with a piece of cardboard. I shut the door between the kitchen and the bedrooms and pushed towels under it so no one would smell onions caramelizing. Just after 12:30 on a Wednesday morning, I finished fanning out the fumes and closed the window. My pale reflection looked back as I washed one plate from the pile of other people's dishes. I had reached a state where my face showed permanent disdain. Lionel jumped up to the counter by the kettle and licked my arm. I nuzzled him and felt that there was a notch in the fur of his sleek back where a clump of hair had been cut away. He must have rolled in some gunk that Juniper couldn't wash out. I put rice on to cook, and the burner's flame made a comfortable thwomp sound when I switched it on. I had sautéed the onions in Marshall's sacred iron pan. If I fried chard and tofu, it would be done in 10 minutes, and I could rub the pan with oil and put it back cleaner than I'd found it. The creative process of cooking would have made me happy if I hadn't felt like a criminal carrying out the world's most uncomfortable heist. Downstairs in the dark, Lionel was making a bigger fuss than usual, slamming his litter box against the walls. After I finished cooking, I would text Juniper and ask her to clear up the mess he must have made. I tore the chard into the pan and threw the tofu in on top. I started the electric kettle. Lionel was lumbering up the back stairs. No, he wasn't. Lionel continued to be on the kitchen counter beside me where he had been sitting this entire time. My blood boiled up from my body to my head. Lionel looked at the stairs and hissed with his tail like a bottle brush. He shot up onto the top of the fridge and lay flat. The thing that was coming up from the cellar thrust its front end into the doorway and charged me at knee height. I whipped the cast iron pan off the stove and swung it down onto the front of whatever it was. It was like hitting wet compost. Tofu and greens sprayed everywhere. The thing lurched up at my face with its mouth, or mandible, opening long and high. Everything seemed to take hours. The mouth coming up at my face. I still see it when I go to sleep at night. My arms swinging down. One of those swings hit something solid that made the pan ring. With what felt like leisure, I ducked under it and was free for a moment as it drove me into the corner. I had one job: hammer that pan on the thing as hard as possible so it couldn't get me. Everything was simple. Somewhere in here I started urinating down my legs. That seemed like a necessary and right step in the process at the time. It struck me like a battering ram and slammed me head first against the counter. Often I recall its texture was like rotten sponges soaked in lube. One of my blows had landed in its lower mouth part and kept it from snapping shut on me. Shrieking, spit flying, I beat the thing into the vinyl floor with my pan. My blows crunched, then splattered, but I couldn't stop because there was more and more of it, and it kept moving so that I could not tell if it was dead. There was yellow glop coming out of it. I could have swung that pan forever. I'd never been so happy. That's a dismal comment on the rest of my life now that I think about it. I was aware of a voice calling my name. Juniper stood in the doorway in a pink nightshirt. Her luxuriant brown curls went straight up. I'd woken her. I was moved to tears by how gentle she looked. I said clearly, "Don't come in here. It might not be dead yet. Your socks are clean." Juniper coughed and gagged. "I don't think it can do anything now." The thing had an internal structure sticking partway out of it, like a big pile of shoulder blades covered with teeth. But its soft parts were dissolving almost as I watched, into strings like a pile of stewed rhubarb. Juniper edged back from the mess, then spat, then vomited into it, even as she wiped her mouth. "Come out of there, sweetheart," she said. "It's all right. You won. You can put the pan down." "Don't patronize me," I said, "though I know you mean well." Lionel leapt down into her arms and rubbed against her neck. She carried him to the living room couch. The electric kettle finished boiling. I threw the hot water all over the remains. Nothing twitched. I switched off the flame under my rice, which was not yet fluffy enough to eat. Juniper came back and hugged me while I explained that I felt fantastic, actually. The front of her nightshirt soaked up my coating of filth. She helped me clean up even though she had done nothing to create the mess. We scooped the remains into bins, lugged them to the street, and poured them down a storm drain. The solids filled a trash bag. Apart from the thing's remains, I found part of a human pelvis and a human jaw with a few teeth still in it. In the end, I buried those under the rosebush in the backyard, and as far as I know, they're still there. We did not find Owen's mom's feet, but I imagine it had been a long time since they were in the thing's digestive tract. After that, we got mops and scalding water on a whole bottle of Dr. Bronner's peppermint soap until the room was cleaner than I had ever seen it. I went down the back stairs with Juniper behind me, carrying the pan in my aching fist. The steps were coated in slime, but the door was closed. "I hope there's nothing down cellar that you need," I said. I locked the flimsy lock in the doorknob, then we nailed scrap across the door, then we dragged a table down the back stairs and jammed it under the knob. I heaped tin pie plates on top of the mess so that if anything tried the door in the night, we would hear it. We slept in my room, behind another locked door, me still gripping the pan and Juniper holding a knife in one hand and stroking Lionel with the other. We were still alive in the morning and woke up right where we'd gone to sleep, crouched together. Juniper had to leave for work at 7 or lose her job. Marshall slept till 1 p.m. and then listened to me sum up the night's events. "Is that what stripped the priming off my cast iron pan?" he said. "Another time, I ask that you give my pan a coating of olive oil and put it in the oven at 375 degrees for an hour." Luckily, we were interrupted by the ringtone as his primary partner phoned. Not the redhead, the flight attendant. Owen had already headed to work before I woke, and he didn't come home once during the remaining time I lived in that house. At therapy the following evening, I had been afraid that my therapist would doubt my word, but after asking clarifying questions, she listened to how I'd spent the night, her hands clutching an empty mug. "So, that's it so far?" I stammered. Erica hugged her cup. After a pause in which I wondered if I'd insulted her, "What do you think about this?" I asked. "No, what do you think about this?" she said. "Which part?" "Everything you just said. What is your gut reaction?" "Well, Marshall can be condescending," I said, "but this is too much resentment for me. I just don't like being talked down to. If he knew what I'd had to do with that pan, he'd thank me. But I also don't want to look self-congratulatory, so I don't know what to do." "Leave that house," said Erica. The cup slipped out of her hands and bounced on the rug. "You never just tell me to do stuff," I pointed out. "I'm changing that now. Move out," As fast as you can. In fact, don't even go back there. Stay with your mother. Yes, I said it. Even your mother is a better option right now. And send someone else there to get your stuff. You can rebuild your life from there. Aren't you going to say I need to walk toward my discomfort? I said. Leave there now. Oh my God, cried Erica. You can't walk anywhere if you're dead. In fact, I only had to go back to my parents' house for about a week. There's always someone looking for a 5th or 6th housemate in Somerville. Mom even let me use her car to move my stuff. Juniper and I have hung out a couple of times since then. The first time she apologized for asking me to live with them in the first place. Was I unsupportive? She asked, tears in her eyes. I reassured her that she was the best of friends in every way that counted. I just needed a change. And there the matter rests. For the record, cellar and basement are both correct terms for the space under a house.
That was absolutely delightful.
Thank you.
But we have some concern. Is Lionel still okay?
Confirm, Lionel is still okay. In fact, the real life Lionel, whose name is also Lionel, is in the next room hanging out.
All right.
If he ever wants to come say hi, that's cool. We welcome animal visitors.
I'll see what I can do.
Oh, that was fun and scary, and I love the stories that make me laugh and feel bad about laughing at the same time. Well, between stories, we often just need a break to take a breath and let the first one soak in, and then we can move on to the next writer. Unless, do you have another short one for us, April? I thought you had just the one today.
Oh, I've only prepared the one story.
Okay. That is what I thought.
I could find quite a short one, but I was picturing that we would each do one about this length.
This is just about right. There would be that much. Okay. So in that case, it is time to move on to our second writer for the night. Our second writer is Bill Ferris. Bill Ferris writes humorous fiction, usually in the form of fantasy, science fiction, mystery, and horror. He has published several short stories in literary journals and writes an author advice column at Writer Unboxed, designed to help little Thompson hacks learn nothing whatsoever. When he's not typing words into a thing, Bill develops online training courses at an organization his lawyer advised him not to name. He lives in North Carolina and has 2 sons who asked not to be mentioned in the bio, but they forgot to say please. Bill, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
It is our pleasure. What do you have for us tonight?
Well, as April mentioned, cellar and basement are both perfectly reasonable names for it. My story is actually about a crawl space. This one, it is called A Crawl Space Full of Prizes. It was originally published in Unidentified Funny Objects a few years ago, volume number 6. It's a story I like a lot, and most importantly, it fits the length of the program this evening. So I thought that would be a fun choice. So I guess I'll just go ahead and get started. All right, thank you. A crawl space full of prizes. You're in the bathroom brushing your teeth and dreading another 10-hour slog at work when the tickets start coming. They lurch from the faucet in a long strand like you're at Dave & Buster's and you just scored big in skee-ball. It scares you at first, mainly because the tickets are pink and you mistake them for a giant worm. You aren't as surprised the next day when the dryer starts dispensing tickets after you finish the laundry. You bought the stackable machines and the tickets poke out from the space between the washer and the dryer. It looks like a place from which tickets might emerge, honestly. You try to look underneath, but those things are heavy and you almost topple the dryer off the washing machine. By Wednesday, you start feeling pretty okay with getting ticket-based rewards for mowing the lawn and going jogging. It strikes you as odd when organizing the office potluck nets you a bundle of them, while working late on the Monroe account earns you neither tickets nor acknowledgement from your boss. But you tell yourself the paycheck is thanks enough. At home, you find a shoebox to store all your tickets. You wonder what you'll do with them, but your boss just fired one of your team members, so you really don't have time to dwell on it. Thursday, you walk around to the rear of your house to the crawl space to put away a box of Christmas decorations for the year. You expect that behind the 3x5 crawl space door will be the crawl space, since it's right there in its name and everything. But instead of the musty smell of garden tools and old maple boards from that cutting board you tried to make but gave up on, you find a neon lit room with day-glow carpet. Top 40 radio blares over loudspeakers that sound nicer than anything you've got in your den. At the center of the room is a glass display case filled with little plastic spider rings and pixie sticks, as well as other assorted knickknacks, candies, baubles, and gewgaws. You couldn't be more surprised if a bear had jumped out of the crawl space. A bear would have at least made a certain kind of sense. You mention this to Sean, the surly, skinny, pimply teen wearing a green polo shirt and name tag, standing behind the glass counter. You also ask him what the heck he's doing here anyway. Because it's my shift, Sean tells you. How did he even get this job? This is your house, you protest. Surely there must be a mistake. Sean will have to leave this instant. And where are you supposed to put your Christmas decorations? If there were competitions for such things, Sean's reply of, I don't know what to tell you, would win gold for least helpful phrase in the English language. You march back to the house to get another box of Christmas stuff. You didn't even unpack this one, as it would have been silly to deck the halls when your brother Jeremy and his kids haven't visited in years. You stomp back toward the crawl space to confront Sean. You open the door, spoiling for a fight, but it's not Sean at the counter. It's a 40-something woman named Karen, wearing a similar green polo and name tag. She smiles and asks you how she can help you. You're so surprised by this display of adequate customer service that you blurt out, "Is Sean here?" like your best buds or something. Sean is not here. Karen would be happy to assist you, however. In addition to the glass display case, she draws your attention to the wall behind her. Perched there, on shelves that, based on the dimensions of your house, should reach well into the living room above, are a variety of other prizes, including, but not limited to, a shoulder to cry on, 25 tickets, a new ending for that book you're writing, 50 tickets, a waking replay of last night's dreams, 100 tickets, perfect recall of your high school prom, 200 tickets, perfect forgetfulness of your high school prom, 400 tickets, every sock you've ever lost, 500 tickets, mortgage refinance, 750 tickets, a phone call from your old college roommate you lost track of because they aren't on Facebook for some reason, 1,000 tickets, forgotten passwords, 2,000 tickets, texts from lost loves, 2,500 tickets, a second chance with your old flame, sold out. That thing where you live an entire lifetime as someone else, but only like 10 minutes pass in your real life, 10,000 tickets. And at the very top, priced at 12,000 tickets, an Xbox One. No big rush, take your time, Karen says, wiping the countertop. You open your mouth to ask why this is happening. What comes out is, what are the terms on the mortgage refi? You've already boarded the train. You may as well see where it's heading. 725 for a 30-year. Well, that's worse than what I've got, you say. Karen shrugs in the what can you do fashion. I keep telling them nobody wants it, but they don't listen to me. You ask Karen to identify this mysterious they, as well as to clarify if other people are visiting your crawl space getting terrible terms on a home refinance. You don't want to get a bad reputation. Karen rolls her eyes. Oh, you know, management. Yes, but management of what? You know, the suits at corporate. She rolls her eyes again, then starts to make an obscene gesture with her hand, but catches herself. You look up, wondering if there are any security cameras. You scan the top shelf again, hoping she'd have something that could mend your relationship with your brother Jeremy. Geez, it must take forever to get the Xbox. You immediately feel foolish. You could order one on Amazon in less time than it would take to walk back into your house. The very idea was ridiculous. You've got responsibilities, and who's got time for video games anyway? Why, it's almost February and you still haven't put away all your Christmas decorations. An Xbox would be completely frivolous. You ask a dozen questions about its specs and game selection just to make sure. Karen points to another prize on the wall. Maybe start out with something less expensive. She points to a shelf holding a pillow with a Batman pillowcase labeled "A Waking Replay of Last Night's Dreams." That one's popular. You don't have to use it right away. You can save it for a real good one. She winks at you in a way that the suits at corporate surely would frown upon. Sure, why not? You excuse yourself to run back into the house to get your tickets. When you return, she exchanges the Batman pillow for several strands of tickets. Enjoy, she says. Oh, I will, you say, immediately regretting it because it comes out sounding really pervy. You stretch out on the couch and put the pillow behind your head. It's a pillow. What else would you do with it? You brace yourself for your dreams to flood your mind, letting you experience them again, alert, with your full cognitive abilities to view them, like a first-year film student analyzing Fitzcarraldo. Your dreams burst into your conscious mind with all the ceremony of a process server knocking on your door to serve you with divorce papers. You cringe as you watch your dream self running late for work and struggling to get dressed, each shirt button like a Rubik's Cube in your sausage fingers. It goes on like this for 5 minutes. You wonder if it gets more interesting toward the end. It does not. In your next dream, you're stuck in an elevator. The good news, you're there with your brother Jeremy, all the old arguments forgotten. The bad news, you've really got to go to the bathroom and you're very sure you're about to pee your pants in front of your brother, whom you suddenly realize is also the governor of Nebraska. The dream ends there. Immediately, you look up Jeremy on Facebook and confirm that he's doing well, though not so well as to be governor of Nebraska. For the 1,000th time, you start typing an email to him. For the 1,000th time, you save it in your drafts folder to finish later. You hear a beep. The smoke detector is crying out for new batteries. Usually, you'll ignore it until it wakes you up 2 hours before your alarm goes off in the morning so you can't get back to sleep. But this time, you rush to its aid like it's a baby crying for a bottle. As soon as you snap the plastic cover back into place, a long rope of tickets staggers out from the side. You go to your shoebox and retrieve a fistful of tickets and speed walk back to the crawl space. Karen is there again. She asks if you'd remembered your dreams. You lie and say you're saving it for your recurring dream about having a beach house in Southern California. Sure you are, she says, winking again. You suspect the suits at corporate HR have a good-sized file going on Karen. Your eyes stray to the Xbox, but you look away before you can imagine the fun of blasting bad guys to smithereens. I'll take the phone call from my college roommate, you say, shoving a heap of tickets toward Karen like you're going all in on a game of Texas Hold'em. You must have looked up your roommate Mike 24 times to no avail. The first thing you plan to ask him is why he isn't on Facebook. Your phone buzzes. An unknown caller from your old college area code. Your adrenaline spikes as you say, "Hello? I'm so happy to speak with you today. As you know, your degree has set you up for a great career. Now is a perfect time to think about making a gift to the Alumni Association." Mike, is that you? I'm sorry. Is this Mike? No, sir. Sorry. My name is Toby. Toby? Wait, oh my God. Didn't you live in Stout Hall your freshman year? Yeah. But, oh my God, I didn't even recognize your name. How are you doing? Wow. You lived with Toby in the freshman dorm back when you were pimply teenagers. The two of you had combined to create the messiest room on the second floor, after which you mutually decided it was best you both find different living arrangements the next year. Toby was a decent guy and you wished him well, but you were pretty okay with never hearing from, speaking to, or thinking of him again. You're glad to find out, however, that he'd married and thrice impregnated his then girlfriend, who'd spent about as much time in your room as you did. You're about to hang up when you realize Toby probably works on commission, and you'd be a real jerk if you let him invest that much time without coughing up a donation. You pledge an annual gift of $100, making a mental note to go to the Alumni Association website and cancel next year's donation as soon as you hang up. You put your phone away and see Karen's smiling face. Nice to catch up, isn't it? You lament you'll have to harvest the donation money from your Florida vacation budget, not that you have time to take one, given how your recent performance review went. Good times, you say. You see anything else you like? Oh, that's enough fun for one evening, you say. You head back inside the house, dwelling on the fact that you're 1,000 tickets further away from the Xbox. Not that you want one, of course. You forget about canceling the donation, instead adding up all the tickets in your shoebox. A paltry 308. You vow not to visit the crawl space again until you've saved up enough for something really great. Naturally, you get up early the next morning and blow half your tickets on new endings to the book you've been writing. Karen and Sean are both working, and you're astonished how thoroughly they know every character, every theme, every plot point you've written. You're equally amazed at their horrible suggestions. Now, you like evil twin stories as much as the next person, but who ever heard of an evil octuplet who was also a reverse vampire? After Sean suggests a surprise witness in a murder trial you're pretty sure he cribbed from Perry Mason, you thank them for their time, spend 50 tickets on Smarties and a licorice rope, and head to the office 90 minutes late. You and your boss agree it's your least productive day in years. The endings were that bad. You don't visit the crawl space for 2 weeks as you sweep, scrub, and scour every inch of your house. You start each day with push-ups, sit-ups, and a 2-mile jog, then head to the store to get donuts for your coworkers. You change your AC filter. You rotate the tires on your car. You rent a carpet cleaner and almost get crushed by it as you drag it back to the first floor. The shoebox can no longer contain all your winnings. Your tickets now live in a laundry basket, which wasn't getting used anyway because you've washed every piece of clothing in the house, even the summer clothes you boxed up a month ago. You remind yourself you wouldn't be getting this much done if you'd bought the Xbox, would you? You put it out of your mind. You still earn 0 tickets for doing your actual job at the office, but your boss's reaction to your work tells you that's just as well. You do score several tickets for finally emailing Jeremy a Russian novel's worth of grief, anger, pleading, and forgiveness. You earn a few more for reading his reply, which states in its entirety, letting you know I got your letter. This is all I have to say. You grab the laundry basket and hustle to the crawl space, surprised at how heavy 13,000 tickets are. Sean and Karen are arguing about who should take out the trash. They stop when they see you. Karen smiles. Hey, stranger, how have you been? I want the thing, you say, the live another life deal. Oh, I love that one, Karen says, grabbing a long stick with a grabber at the end. It grabs what appears to be an old imitation leather suitcase. Sean turns toward Karen and scowls. We're supposed to present some options. Maybe he wants the Xbox. That's what I'd get. Sean must have seen you looking at it again. He didn't ask for the Xbox, did he? Besides, it's more expensive. Instead of one boring life, he can have 2, Sean mutters. Karen shoots him a dirty look. Well, I could buy an Xbox anywhere. What's so special about it, you say? Nothing, Sean says. There's nothing special about any of this stuff. Sean, Karen says, looking toward a dark corner of the room. You again wonder about security cameras. What, living an entire lifetime as someone else isn't special, you say? Sean rolls his eyes. What's wrong with the life you've got? Well, I don't know. It's fine, really, you say, fishing in your pocket for the pocket knife Jeremy gave you for your 14th birthday. It'd just be nice to get a do-over on some stuff, you know? I can do less of the dumb things, more of the cool ones. Are you saying that the prize doesn't do that? Karen clears her throat. Sean rolls his eyes. I'm not saying anything, he said. They irritate each other so much you'd wonder if they're family. We obviously can't guarantee the kind of life it would be, Karen says. Sean is about to say something, but Karen shuts him up with another dirty look. Life is a series of opportunities. What you do with them is up to you. How'd your other prizes work out? Sean says. Well, I mean, the one with the dreams wasn't great, but it was the dreams that were duds. The prize worked just fine. Well, how are the novel endings? Sean says. You respond with an awkward pause. You don't want to hurt his feelings. What would you do with the Xbox? Sean says. Play video games? Anything else? Like what? Sean sighs. He's a string bean, and the sigh weighs more than he does. Is there some game you loved as a kid but never finished? Oh, no. Maybe some game you used to play with a dead son or daughter as a bonding experience. Geez, no, you say. I just want to relax and play Monkey Kong or whatever. Well, then, yeah, it works perfectly, Sean says. You stare at Sean. The Xbox is the only thing that'll do what I want it to? Candy works fine, too. Sean grabs a handful of pixie sticks and slides them toward you. Oh, man, I used to love these things, you say. When my brother and I went to my grandma's for sleepovers, she let us have these if we promised not to tell our mom. There was this one time where... Okay, Sean says, taking the pixie sticks from you. How about a Twix? Any toxic nostalgia tied to those? No, not really. Sold. Sean slides one toward you and snatches 50 tickets from your hand. You see Karen hustling to get the Other Life prize from the shelf, like if you just take a good look at it, you'd see the wondrous new jobs you could have, the coworkers you could spend years and years with, the sad sacks you could cheer up with second chances and false hope. Sean makes no effort to help her. You want to ask Sean how someone with such poor customer service skills even got this job, but you're starting to think you already know. You look at Karen, whose eyes don't look nearly as happy as her smile would have you believe. I'll take the Xbox, you say. Karen says, are you sure you wouldn't rather? I'm sure. Karen takes a deep breath, then hands the grabby arm thingy to Sean and walks away, apparently deciding it was indeed her turn to take out the garbage. They are so writing you up, she whispers in a way that she obviously wants you to hear. Like they can fire me, Sean says. He hands you the Xbox. The packaging promises lots of gigahertz and ROMs and other stuff that makes no sense to you. Did I just get you in trouble, you say? Nah, she gets like that. For all his defiance, Sean looks a little paler than a moment ago. You need to grab a pizza after your shift or blow off some steam or whatever. You motion to the Xbox. Play some video games? Sean smiles or something like it. Can't. Thanks, though. You've seen movies and you know how these things work. The next time you enter the crawl space, it will again be just a crawl space with all the ruins of discontinued hobbies, outgrown clothes, and Jeremy's old shoeboxes full of CDs implied therein. Take care, you say. Thanks, man, Sean says. You're not sure if there's warmth behind his cool facade, but you decide to believe it's there regardless. You exit the crawl space and close the door behind you, excited to fire up your new toy. You're so giddy that without thinking, you call Jeremy. Without thinking, you call Jeremy. Muscle memory from back when you were getting along. You call him about how you just won an Xbox. You go straight to voicemail. Feeling foolish, you lug your prize into the house, the warm sensation of victory carried off by the chill winter breeze. You set the Xbox on top of a plastic bin of Christmas stuff, the one with all the wrapping paper. A thought occurs to you. Instead of opening the box, and before you can change your mind, you wrap it in paper festooned with snowmen and holly branches. Jeremy's kids will love it. Well, probably. Do they even like video games? Well, but isn't it your duty as an uncle to give loud, obnoxious gifts? You'll ask Jeremy that when you show up unannounced at his door with a belated Christmas present. You laugh, thinking about how mad he'll be when he sees you. On some level, Jeremy will appreciate that. An Xbox can't change what happened, but it might be enough to get you through the front door. And it's about time you two got things fixed. Speaking of doors, you run outside to check on the crawl space. The movies did not lie. Your disorganized junk is right where you left it. Good. You'll hit the road just as soon as you finish putting away the Christmas decorations. The end. That was fun. I hadn't read that one out loud in a while.
It reads well. That was fun. Daniel, I can't remember the last time we've had two writers sync up so completely
Yeah, I know.
without any prep at all.
You guys didn't like email each other before the thing, did you?
Sometimes
Well,
they do.
Is the last week in May is traditionally basement week, is it not?
Well, no, that's true. You're absolutely right. How could I forget?
Somehow I missed that memo.
They call it disused storage space in Massachusetts.
Oh, of course. I'm from the Midwest, so we had different with how we call soda pop there. So same thing, I think.
Understandable.
Yeah, and as April points out in the chat, congratulations for pulling off second person for longer than 100 words. Well done.
Thank you.
It's funny, it was so smooth, I didn't even really notice. Sometimes it works.
I enjoy how lighthearted that was. I was listening with my anxiety levels spiking because of the thing which the narrative voice points out about how we all know how these stories go to some extent.
And was anyone else expecting a centipede thing in that dark corner?
I was wondering.
Yeah. So, but they didn't sync up that perfectly, which is probably good in this case.
I should have, but Centipede isn't. That's more of a second week in July type of theme, I think. Is it?
Oh, that's
not?
week. So,
Well, maybe you can come back some July then.
Okay.
Read to some more centipedes.
There we go.
Bill, I feel like you should know that about a third of the way through that story, a small child stood in the doorway behind you holding perfectly still, and it was like a found footage horror movie.
Where
just over your shoulder.
I don't have any kids.
Then yeah.
Now, I was given away by my bio. Yeah, my son was doing that.
Well, you're talking that line. Perfect.
Well, thank you both so much. This has really been a lot of fun. Next week is also going to be a lot of fun. We have Amy Ogden and Effie Seiberg, so that's going to be delightful. Yes, see, some people here are familiar with them. Some of us are all local to one another and know each other. And you can keep up to date about upcoming authors or much further beyond at Story Hour 2020. And you can see programs you may have missed or just watch this one as many times as you want at the Story Hour page on Facebook. Oh, April, Bill, thank you so much for sharing your delightful stories with us tonight. This has been so much fun.
Thank you.
Daniel, thank you so much for bringing a Story Hour in the first place. And all of you who are here, all of you who are watching later, thank you for joining us at this weird little virtual fire that we're gathered around and helping us.
Being my partner in literary crime for this.
It's fun. I look forward to this every week. Thank you all for joining us and spinning the fictive dream. Good night from Story Hour.
Night, everybody.